Hi folks, welcome to Set Apart Homestead. This is Travis, and sorry if I sound different today or something. I woke up with probably a head cold of some sort, throat's swollen, and just don't feel too good. I was going to take you guys on a walk and talk, but it's raining out, and I don't feel very good, so I think I'm just going to stay up here where it's dry. I wanted to talk today about kids and being prepared. Hold on, I'm trying to adjust this thing. See if I can get it to where it looks better. Kids, being prepared, kids on your homestead, raising them, your kids, and how to incorporate them. I think it's very important, obviously, when it comes to like daily homesteading chores and stuff, but also to incorporate them into just your whole preparedness plan. It's a little different with kids because kids, depending on the child and the age and maturity level, they can kind of get a little too emotional if you're sitting there talking to them about some doomsday scenario, or, what are we going to do if the bomb drops and, half the country dies and all this kind of stuff. You could terrorize your child depending on the child. So, you do have to kind of do things a little bit different with them, but that doesn't mean you exclude them. They need to be included in this. They need to understand that, where to go in an emergency. And so what we do a lot is we, talk to them about, fire. Like, let's say there's a fire in the house and we have to get out of the house. How do you get out? And so we do fire drills. Where do we go? If there was a storm, or if there was an earthquake, or, something like that, do we have a plan and a place to meet, somewhere on the property? What are you supposed to grab and when you leave? Those types of things. And these are drills that we work with our kids. And it's something that, you need to have your kids involved in. It makes them and I know this sounds really harsh to say this, but from a, preparedness standpoint, it makes them more of an asset than a liability, because if they have no clue what's going on in this plan and the bug out bags and everything, and it is all something that you've cooked up in your head and you've not incorporated them into it, then when something happens, they're not going to know what to do. And you don't want that. You want them, kind of having an idea of what's going on. They feel more confident. They're not going to be quite as panicking because, they've trained for this. And most kids are capable of that. We have 4 kids living at home. The oldest at home, she'll be 12 in a few months, and a girl. And so she tends to be a little bit more emotional, more dramatic. But the others, but she still can handle it. It's not like, it's traumatizing to her to talk about, being prepared in certain emergencies that may arise. The other kids just love it. The youngest boy, he's 9, and he's just all into, the cool gear and the things that we do, the camping, the survival. I call him, his title is the quartermaster. He helps me organize things and take care of equipment and stuff like that. The 2 youngest are girls, and they're just, I call them feral Vikings. They would be just fine if we just went out there behind me and lived in a cave or a tree. I mean, I think they'd be okay with that, both of them. So, they've kind of grown up around it. They're not, the kids that sit in front of the TV and video games. We don't even have video games or computers or anything like that here at the house. So most of their entertainment is, a big part of it is outside. And so we incorporate a lot of those things, survival skills into those outside activities. And it creates a bond between you and your kids. So I would assume that most of you that have kids would probably already be doing this. But, don't think that your prepping or your preparedness plan and things like that is just something that you do yourself. Get your kids involved, talk to them about it, train with them, go through drills and stuff. Teach them how to use the stuff in the equipment that you have. These are things that are very important. Even maybe the older ones, even if they're not legally old enough to drive, maybe they need to know how to drive. If they're mature enough and you think that they're probably ready, when I was working on a farm, I was driving farm trucks at 12 years old. And that's just how it was, pulling, hay wagons and stuff. So just because they may not be legally old enough doesn't mean that they couldn't learn how to drive or do certain other things in an emergency. Medical bag, where is it? How does it work? Maybe they could, if mom gets hurt and you're the one doing the first aid, they need to be, could be there pulling it out and know what to give you. That sort of thing. They can be a big help to you if you do it right. It also is, creates a bond between you and your kids. It's which families nowadays, at least a lot of families, the modern American family, don't do that. And so, homesteading, homeschooling, and being prepared, all of those things are family activities. And you can easily get your kids involved, and they'll love it. My kids, they think it's cool. No, we don't necessarily sit there and talk about all these doomsday scenarios with them. They're aware of some, but they are, sorry, I'm having a hard time breathing and talking. I can't hardly breathe. For instance, the oldest, in her schoolwork, she's been learning about weather patterns, how the weather works, tornadoes, hurricanes, storms, things like that. And so as we're working on that, we're also talking about, well, what do you do in a time of a storm? What do we do? We may not live near hurricanes, but what should people do in a hurricane? What should people do in a tornado? Earthquake, different things like that. So, we kind of incorporate it. It doesn't really feel like it's a training session. It's incorporated in her schoolwork so that, it's a little bit easier sometimes for them to grasp it, that it's, it's not, this militaristic type of training. And if you want to do that with your kids, that's okay. I do sometimes. But, the main thing is that get your kids involved. I know some of you people out there, maybe you're the only one in your family on board with this. Maybe your spouse isn't on board. Maybe they are. Maybe not quite as much as you. It's good family activities, and sell it as, hey, we need to have like fire drills. They do those in school. The kids do fire drills in school. We need to do fire drills here at the house. And what to do if there's an emergency and we have to leave the house in an emergency. Where do we go? If the parents get separated from the kids, or is there a place on the property or on the street that we live on that it's a safe zone that the kids can go to? What types of things should you grab? Are we going to be just running around like chickens with our heads cut off, or do we have like a go bag that we know what we're supposed to grab and where to get out and where to go? Make these family activities. And, I wouldn't worry so much about traumatizing your children, especially if you do it right. Of course, have some common sense. Don't, talk about all these crazy doomsday movies you've seen. Although some kids might be okay with that. But, make it a fun adventure for them. Kids love that kind of stuff. And kids nowadays, most of them, they don't experience that. When I was growing up, and generation before me, most kids, especially boys, we went to things like Boy Scouts where we were learning survival skills and things that now would be considered prepping skills. And we were learning those at young ages. I could start a fire with one match when I was, quite young. And nowadays, hey, they can program your phone and, know how to use the internet real well, but that's about it. So work with your kids on these things. They will enjoy it. It will be great family activities, and along the way you are preparing your family also. So it's not just about your food, your medical, your gear, your guns, all that kind of stuff. And this transfers over to the homestead too. If you've got a little farm, a little homestead, get your kids involved. They love it. My kids they love the outside chores. It's getting them to clean the room. That's a chore. But hey, you know, if it's feeding the animals, watering them, you know, stacking wood, they're all about that kind of stuff. Get them involved. Teach them about gardening. They need to know these skills. Pass them on from yourself to them. That's how it's been done for generations, and this modern culture is losing that. So make sure that you're changing that in your own home. Don't be part of the rest of the world in that sense. You know, raise your children around this stuff. They need to know. Same with like shooting a gun. They, you know, depending on the firearm and the age, they can, you know, learn how to do that kind of stuff also with, you know, your supervision and safety. So get your kids on board. They need to be part of, you know, your plan, your training, your, you know, evacuation type plans, and do drills with them. Make it fun. They will love it. Our kids do. They think it's cool. They're always wanting to know when we're going to do more of that kind of stuff. What's the new coolest thing we're going to get or do? And they're just all crazy about it. They love it. So again, and then, hey, that's also a good way. Maybe if your spouse isn't quite on board and you have kids, start doing it with your kids, and then, you know, you could get your spouse, hey, come on, you know, we need to do these fire drills. We need to do evacuation drills. What if there was a hurricane or a tornado or, you know, wildfire? Look what happened in California, an earthquake, like what happened in Alaska. You know, do that kind of stuff and focus on it with the kids, and your spouse will probably more than likely, you know, be part of those drills. And then afterwards, you can always talk to him or her and say, hey, you know, if we had, you know, a good first aid kit, that would make a lot more sense. If we had, you know, some fire extinguishers, that would really help and give us a lot of advantage in case there was a fire. Different things like that. And it's a way to get them on board. All right. I don't feel too good. I'm going to go drink some more herbal tea and sit down and pray that I'll start breathing soon. So, you know, basically the point of all this is just don't exclude your kids from your homestead plans and what you do and your preparedness plans. They're vital to it. They're part of the family. Trust me, if you don't include them in something where to happen, can't even talk now, they'll be a liability instead of an asset, because you'll be trying to take care of yourself, your spouse, and 2 or 3 or 4 kids that have no clue what's going on, and they're terrified. So you don't want that. You want them to know what to do in an emergency. So get them on board, do some drills, talk to them about the stuff. You know, you kind of have to bring it down to their level so that they understand and aren't, you know, terrified of what might happen. But they can handle it, trust me. You know, don't be like all the rest of the modern world and, you know, try to over-sensitize things for your children. Children are a lot tougher than you think. And they want that kind of stuff, and they love it. So, alright, that's my non-expert opinion. You guys have a good day, and I'm going to get inside where it's a little bit warmer. We'll catch you in the next video.